Okay, super. Okay, well, ready to go then, O's?
All good, mate.
Okay. Okay, evening, everybody. We will start on straight away because I know we will run out of Zoom time. We normally do. Not just because I go on and on and on, but we've got quite a bit I want to cover for you all. We did the, first of all, welcome, and O's is co-hosting it with me tonight, and he's going to be admitting the people as we go along, so as I can crack straight into it. I'll present, we'll go through it. If there's any questions, then we will stop towards the end with hopefully 5 minutes to spare for any questions. We will touch on the kit because as I just talked to Daz there about the kit. Obviously, he's got the kit for Jackson, so he knows the sizes and how it works, etc. So we will touch on that towards the end because I know that's an issue for a lot of you. And then any questions, obviously, you can get in touch with us again if we run out of time. So without further ado, guys, we'll crack on. For those that don't know me, I'm Andy. I'm going to be hosting it tonight, head of the centre, and I'm just going to talk a little bit in more detail about what we're going to do this season and about us moving obviously across from Hereford to Cheltenham. And basically do development centres work and art. I don't know who art is, but are they just a money-making machine? Okay, one of the questions at the top. How I look at it, our success is the RTC, which is very similar to a development centre. In 4 years for the JPL, we had 36 boys goes to professional academies in 9, so that's 9 a year, which at any level, trust me, that is a phenomenal achievement, okay? Now, with adding the benefit of actually going in, feeding in directly into a Category 3 academy, which is where I've always wanted our boys to be at this level. In terms of if you're talking when we were Hereford and we weren't an academy, we wanted to get to academy status, but you've got to be a Football League club, and then you've got to go through the EPPP, which is a massive designed by the Premier League guideline, and it is phenomenal to get through. And so it's great to be with that. Also, the great thing about merging it with Cheltenham, obviously working with them previously, knowing how good they are, how they treat people, which is the biggest thing in life for me. But the great thing is they develop their own. In the last 21 years, they've got 41 players through. Even in my maths, that's over 2 a year, which is phenomenal. To run a non-funded organisation takes money, commitment and a long-term development planning. So if you look at it, we've got ages from some of our under 9, some of them are 8 years old, right up to now we're bringing in the 21s, which is where I always wanted us to go, because it's a mad idea because there's not one out there that do this at the moment, unfunded. You only get Premier League clubs that do 21s and 23s. So we're doing it, and it comes at a cost of between 12 and 14k per team at that level. So my 18s and 21s will cost that per team to run. So the whole setup, this is why we're talking that a long-term development plan is that, you know, a lot of you might be thinking, well, actually, my boy's only 8. How does that affect him? Well, trust me, these boys that are in our current under 18s at the moment, they were with us when they were 9 years old. 5, 6 of them. So some of your boys may well still be in there, and it gives them that pathway and that route. Again, we do it. We need sponsorship. Any sponsorship that we can get, guys, trust me, comes back to what we do. It doesn't go anywhere else. It comes back to what we do. If they want sponsorship and advertisement from it, then they can do that via, we got our Pro Club website, and we will be pushing it loads and through the social media. Just to touch on some of the success stories that we've had at Cheltenham, you know, when I was there, they started their development centres. We just had the full academy when we went back into the Football League in 2001, and then they started the development centres in 2013. And the lad on your screen, Adam Page, actually was in the development centre. So he wasn't taken on as a scholar at 18. He was taken in as the development centre. Pagey then got a contract with the club. Your opportunities come. So when they're scholars, they'll get loaned out. They might decide other routes, and then the development player steps up, takes their place. He impressed. He got a pro contract, and that follows you throughout your life when you got that. Then he then went on loan to Hereford, and I think he's now playing at Evesham, still step 5. Another lad there, Cam Pring, was at Bristol City. Cam was with us 2015 again as the development centre. Again, same sort of route. Then he was signed by Bristol City in the professional game, and he's still playing in the conference now for Aldershot. There's the other route you got where our boys can go to universities. And I know a lot of you might be thinking, well, actually, this is way down the pecking order. But you imagine we've got this now for them, how far advanced we're going to be when you guys are doing it. I've even had one of under 21s contact me this last week talking about he wants to get on ready for the American university in 2 to 3 years, which includes references and all that. And so we're looking at those sort of routes. So there's loads of potential opportunities out there, guys, that we're talking in, as well as linking with the semi-pro clubs. Also last year, again, we're talking about the FA Youth Cup, which, you know, obviously we had at Hereford. Obviously we won't be in that, our scholars will be in that, but a lot of the development boys played in that last year. As it also says, they also played in the reserves. So there's these routes further down the road are massive, guys. They really, really are. And this is if you don't get signed up as a pro. So, you know, the opportunities are phenomenal. And those are just the little bits of descriptions that throw us all around from our development programs, showing where we go to the youth team, to the first team, contract, universities. If we don't, we make sure we look after players when they go to other clubs. And to me, that's absolutely massive. The reason that I've got this slide on there, and it's just, I don't believe in just chucking slides on there for a simple motivation without a reason behind it. The actual coach, John Wooden, that did this, he's probably one of the most inspired coaches that I've ever, you know, read books on. And again, it comes from something that I've certainly built my philosophy on in terms of success. Success comes from knowing that you did your best to become the best that you are capable of becoming. And when I talk about that, it's actually, I'm not saying, what, are we all going to be pros? Am I going to be managing in the Premiership? No, all I want to be honest to myself is, can I be the best that I can be? And if you look at this next slide, you look at all those players, do you think when they were your guys' age, or when they were 9 or 10, because trust me, we see them as Premiership stars, and we see them on the telly week in, week out, playing. That was the England squad last year, playing for England. We all think they had a rose-petaled pathway to the top. Well, trust me, they didn't. Out of all those players there, only 2 were at Category 1 academies from day one. Out of only 2. And those 2 were Trent on the right back and Rashford top left. The rest of them all come from lower graded academies. And, you know, and I know I'm very fortunate. Obviously, I coached, you know, Jack Button when he was a very young age. Somebody said to me then, you're coaching a future England goalkeeper. You'd have gone, behave yourself. But trust me, opportunities come around, work hard enough, you might get those breaks. So you look at all those lads. If those coaches had taken the attitude that Pickford, for example, Sunderland, who were League 1, League 2 a couple of years ago, if they'd have taken that example that he was never going to be to the top, well, we won't bother putting the effort into him, he'd have never reached that level. So this is what we're talking about when we talk about the levels we're going to take you boys to. We'll be expecting you to do more. And that's when, you know, when Antoine was on the other week and he talked about the wiser philosophy they have at the club. And that is very true, because it talks about the work ethic. And to me, if you've got that, I think in life, you'll be absolutely fine. Just touching on it now a little bit about the JPL, obviously the ages, talking about 9s and 10s at Yate and our under 11s, which is predominantly what this is about tonight. And obviously the 13s, 14s. We're all in the JPL. And why I still go back to the JPL for the pathway for our younger ages is because, yeah, I didn't see that, Lloydie. Sorry, I've got to laugh. There was a quote I made in my last one, and some of the older ones will remember that, is one of our mates who's a coach, and I've said it a few times. But yeah, central venue fixtures, guys, down there, it's got better and better and better. And I know some of you might have experienced it for the first time last year and thought, oh, this ain't great or badly organised. And listen, there are things that are still not right. And we're still, you know, I'm talking with them. I actually spoke with Rich Martin today, and there are still little things that we're trying to make better. What is great about it, apart from all that's on there, is that it's on a decent surface all the time. Players get plenty of game time in a proven environment, and that's massive. Because trust me, we all know, like, you all play for local grassroots clubs and you're all the best players in your grassroots clubs. Are you then going to push on because you're going to be scoring 5 and 6 goals week in, week out, whereas you're going to go here and sometimes you're going to have a lesson, sometimes you're not. And this is where it's massively important. And I actually don't look at it that we've got an under 9s and an under 10s and an under 11s. I look at it, we got 3 ages at the foundation age group. And that's how I want to perceive this next season, because we've got such strength. Okay, we have done, you know, thrown about the ideas, me and the coaching staff, about, do we have another team? So as we've got plenty of game time for all the players. But that's something that, you know, we don't want to run before we can walk. We prefer to have, especially with the under 11s, last year's 10s going into now 9-a-side, big challenges, weekly games. So big challenges ahead. And obviously the quality of standard of an opposition just keeps maintaining down there, which is massively important. So go on to what, the scheduling for this season. So the under-9s and under-10s are going to continue to play the matches at Yate. The under-9s and the under-10s will train over 2 evenings. Now, I'm not going to say this is my idea. This is down to Daz's idea, and I think it's an absolutely fantastic idea, guys. And this is what we do. We share ideas. We throw them back and forth. Our phones non-stop. Our WhatsApp groups are always going, and you do miss some messages. It's that mad. But you get random ideas, and they work. And it's a bit like, the quote we put out on social media the other day about Bielsa. Somebody said they're a mad idea. Well, all ideas are mad until they work. And it is so true. And, thinking of putting the one age group on a different night, well, why would we do that? The great thing about doing it, we're going to put the 10s on a different night, is we have the under-9s and under-11s on one night, the under-10s on the next night. If one boy can't make that age group because he wants to train with his local team this week, they've got a big game and we want to work with them, or he's got to play, or his sister's got a party, then he can train with the other one the next night, because there's not a massive gap between our ages, especially those 3 guys. And that's, for me, why it's important. And now we're under this professional umbrella. It's going to be, the teams will be picked by that. So they may see an under-11 go into Yate one week because he may be struggling. He may not be getting enough game time in the under-11s. He's struggling. He had a growth spurt. He might just be low in confidence. We'll send him to Yate with the under-10s, get his confidence up, build it back that way. And under-10 may then be pushed up to go up to play in the 11s. Those sort of little things are what we've been talking about non-stop. And I'm just glancing around at me. I'm just looking at the numbers at these ages. It's quite phenomenal. Like, I think we've got about 18 under-11s for 9-a-side, which might seem a lot, but trust me, you come to October or November and you have 3 or 4 missing through injury, through illness, which will happen. Some might actually not enjoy it or whatever. And so this will happen. The under-11s are going to play in the Midlands JPL, which was a little thing that, it was, do we go south or do we go Midlands? I've chose Midlands. I think it's a little bit more rough and tumble for us, okay? I don't think it's probably as good for them technically, but it'll make them not be such nice boys when they go over the white line, which unfortunately is what we will make them start doing when they get older. And that's a massive part of it, because the home games are going to be here at the ranch, okay? And as I've put on there, we've got them here because we think it's a nicer environment. The games can be videoed and we can upload to our YouTube. And I know the coaches want that as well, so they can look back at videos, which is great for them. Obviously, we'll be looking for volunteers then to outweigh the pitch markings, etc. And also by hosting the games ourselves, we'll also be looking for, potential parents that can out, teas and coffees on a match day. We've done it before when we've done it. And, and I know it's a parent that their boy's playing and they're thinking, well, I don't want to serve teas and coffees because my boy's playing. What we tended to do was we just put a notice on the office down there where we do the teas and coffees that it'll be open at half-time, at kick-off, and at full-time, and that's it. And it works fine. It just gives everyone that little bit of an option. Okay, there's a coaching schedule for the whole centre, okay? So that's how it's going to work this year. On a Monday night, we've got the 13s and 14s, and these are the dates we're hoping to start by August the 3rd, permitting obviously no second wave or nothing untoward. I've got a meeting on Thursday this week at the academy where we're going to go through the guidelines, so we'll know more whether we're in still groups of 5 because we're a pro club and we've got to go down stricter guidelines. Why that is, I don't know, because everyone's as important as everyone, but apparently that's what they're saying at the moment. So Monday nights, we'll have the 13s and 14s will come in for an hour and a half on the Monday night, then the 18s and 21s will follow them then for 2 hours. The Tuesday night, we'll have the 9s and the 11s in, and then on the Wednesday night, the under 10s will be in. And listen, the rest of it is free in terms of around that schedule. So, for example, if any of the other coaches, you need any other slots in terms of, we've got a big game, we want an extra one this Saturday or something like that. We've always got the Friday, they can do stuff. If they wanted to come in before the 18s on a Thursday night or the 10s on a Wednesday night, these are little things that we can trink and adapt. The difference being it is obviously because it's ours, that's how we can do it. Okay, and that's where. But all the coaches will have these. We will, once this is finalised, and I've had the meetings from the club at the academy and got the all thumbs up and the okay. What we'll do is I'll upload this to the Teamer. In your Teamer, if you go into your Teamer homepage, there's a document section. We'll put these monthly calendars on there so you've got your schedule. And your coaches will have their own, and what they'll do is they'll probably put the games in there as well, so you've all got it, guys. And we're going to keep this running quite as regularly, and we'll post it on social media as much as we can. Okay, the next one, this is potentially, the reason I'm showing this, guys, is that we did this with the 18s and 21s the other night, and so it's the same schedule that with them, but I'm showing this predominantly for the 13s and 14s because they are less than 18 months away from us. By then, we will be doing a college program, so they will be then looking at this sort of program. I had to do this sort of program for my A license CPD last November. And when we were on this, I had to design a 6-week program for a professional Premiership Championship club. So I designed this, and basically this is what I've got with the 18s, 21s, and Lloydie, I know what is quite adamant. He wants the 13s, 14s to go around this sort of route as well. So, you know, it's little bits like this. Like on week 2, we're going into fitness testing, just a little bit of a fitness testing. It's nothing rocket science, guys. Trust me, it's not. It's weird. You can go to the Premier League and see their sort of schedules, and I've seen quite a few. I've been very lucky, and they don't do anything for me, guys. Anything more untoward. They're not going to pull out a worldie out of the box and say, oh, we're doing this because we're the Premier League. They will do all of these tests. So they will be simple tests, and these fitness is where will be the key, guys. I mean, a great example of fitness is Leeds at the moment. You know, the way they play football, they've used limited players. They did it last year. They've gone again, and they're fitter and stronger than they've ever been. And watched, you know, and because I'm a big fan of Bielsa, the coach, I've watched him for a number of years before he came here. And now he's watching how he's changed them from what Leeds were 3 years ago. And I'm sure there's Leeds fans in here tonight. They are a different animal. And this comes down to, and I'm pointing at the screen, I don't know why, because you can't see me doing that, but it's down to fitness. And a lot of you can do that. And those are simple tests, guys. Those are simple tests that you can even do at younger ages. They're just and I did this many years ago. I had an under 14 looked at by a Bristol club, and he suddenly just completely went, no one knew good enough. And the reason being, we did this fitness testing with him 6 monthly then, and it was found that his left leg was, when we did the stand-in reach and the forward reach test, his left leg was giving him stronger lift, and it was because it was just a little bit longer in length. And they wouldn't have known that if we hadn't done these tests. So these little tests do make a massive difference. Little activation routines like these are the exercises. And I've said to the 18s, 21s, when they come training, they have to, so if say training is at 19:30 hours, they have to be at training at 19:20. They get the bands, the elastic bands that you see the pros use, you get them, and you do these exercises. These will be on the wall by the changing rooms down the football centre. And listen, it doesn't matter whoever does these, guys. You younger ones can do it. It's just no different to a warm-up, just little bounces, little stretches. It just gets you into a more professional routine. You don't need to do them, but it's just a little more of a professional routine. Again, this next bit is predominantly for 13s, 14s, and the reason I checked with with Daz, Kurt, Levon, all the younger coaches younger ages coaches tonight. I checked with them that, do you want me to go through the same slides? And they said, yeah, because it's the model of the club. It's what we're all looking to build towards, so they know what we're aiming towards. So we will be coaching them these 3 sorts of blocks that I call them. So you've got the high block or the high press, the medium block, and then you've got the low block. And to me, they're all massively important, but we will coach them all. I then took this from a slide that I was at a few weeks ago. And for those younger ones that don't know that on the side, he's probably the greatest footballer, he's certainly in the top 5 anyway, Johan Cruyff. And 70% of what we will do will be based around possession. That doesn't mean we won't defend, but what I'm talking about is 70% of what we do. We'll focus on what we do and not the opposition. So somebody could come and watch any of our age groups and suddenly put us in a different coloured shirt, and they wouldn't know they wouldn't know that let me get that right, that we were the exactly same model that we're playing, whether we're in a different shirt or not, from the style of play. Okay, 0 compromising on wavering. And the final one that I like on the left, everything comes before winning. And I think that's massively important, especially throughout these age groups, guys. To me, there are 5 stages in a game where we play the principles and not the patterns. And these are the 5 stages. And I won't go over them all, guys, because I could, I've told the 18s and 21s I will be going over these in depth with them. and I will do. And we talk about the first stage. And the reason this is, I put this 5 stages, and I'll go back just reason, is when you come in at half time or in your quarters, like, look, even the Premier League are having 20-minute games at the moment. So they're doing the same as you guys, okay? But what you do is, you could turn to your team and say, well, what stage are we at? Are we at stage 1, getting to the halfway line in possession? Are we at movement ahead of the ball? What part are we falling down at? The creation part? Are we falling down at that? So when we talk about getting to the halfway line, we're talking about our centre-halves, our fullbacks, being aggressive in their positioning, going high up the pitch. 90% pass completion. Now, to do that, you've got to be calm, you've got to be patient, but you've got to play the least riskiest passes. So again, that's massively important. So you'd like to think you can get to the halfway line. The movement ahead of the ball, I actually nicked the first one off 7-in-1 movements off the current Premier League champions. And I've got to say that because they are by tomorrow night, okay? And basically, if it's good enough for them, then it's good enough for you guys. And what I mean about this 7-in-1 movement. So they did a study in Champions League football, okay, of a striker before he receives the ball, or a player further up the pitch up as receiving the ball. Okay, so you imagine I'm a fullback and I play it to my right winger, and he's made a movement away to receive it short. He's made one movement to receive that ball, and I don't give it him. They did it on average. Mo Salah was one of them, made 7 movements before he received the ball. So that's why we call it the 7-in-1. So if somebody makes a run in behind, how many times have you guys seen it? You know, you've got the ball in defence or midfield and your striker wants it or the left winger wants it and he shouts for it and you don't give it him. Suddenly his arms go up in the air. Oh, you're not passing. That's one movement. We're talking 7 movements before you receive that ball. It's massive, guys. And there's so much more detail I could go into on that, but I am going to run out of time. So we talk about then up the stages, you go into the creation and all the little bits that we go into when you're creating the 1v1, the slide passes. You're further up the pitch, so you want that little bit. You want that little bit more risk rather than in defence where you play a less risk pass over a less distance. You don't look for a 25-yard pass when you're in defence because you're all open and exposed, so it's a little bit riskier. You talk into the transition when we lose the ball, okay, and we're talking about counter-pressing. You know, the light switch moment when we got to switch back on, 11 players pressing, 9 players pressing, 7 players pressing, but with one brain. And then when we get the ball back, 5 passes puts us back in control. Because very rarely, once you've lost the ball, you all swarm around it to get the ball back. And then we need to get back open and exposed again in possession. So it'll probably take you potentially 5 passes to get to that. And then we go back to, I didn't click over the defensive setup quickly. Then we talk about the defensive setup again, how we want to show the distance between our units and avoiding the low block, you know, unless we have to go into it. I will quickly run through this other stuff, guys, because I am down to the last 7 minutes. Basically, I've done this, and you know, me and the coaches have put this together. Basically, player profiling, possession specific. Okay, there's a lot of detail on there. Okay, and won't go through it all. But what we tend to do is we look for in goalkeepers, and basically remember what I just said. This is possession specific. So I'm not saying I'm looking for my goalkeepers now to be a good shot stopper. I'm not saying I want him to catch the ball. He should be punching it. Those are basics. Those are a gimmies. If you haven't got them, you won't even be here. Okay, what I'm now looking for is to taking you to another level. Okay, so you've got to be mentally strong. Under all of these umbrellas, you will have to be mentally strong under pressure to play those passes. You see it in the Premiership at the moment. You see Arsenal, they're mastering it at the moment against Man City the other night. I think there was 8 of them in and around their own box playing the ball out. That, you know, and people say, well, that's stupid, that's risky. It leaves so much space in behind the other end, and this is where you've got to be common sense to work it out. You talk about the fullbacks, and I link this into what we've just shown you, those 5 strategies in a game. If you look at the second paragraph, aggressive positioning to receive. So when I talk about my fullbacks being aggressive, I don't necessarily mean him going out and beating hell out of the player next to him. I mean aggressive in terms of his positioning. So can he go higher up the pitch? Will that force the left winger to go with him? Will he not? If he doesn't go with him, it leaves him free. If he does go with him, he creates space for his centre half. I then look at my centre-backs, and again, I link it back in. If you look at the third paragraph, can he step in with the ball? 90% pass possession completion, minimising the risk pass distance. Okay, all these little things on there are massively important. Sorry, I just got to butt in. O's, thank you very much, mate. Top man, thank you for tonight. Lloydie's taking over. So it's going to go all go downhill from here, guys.